Hey, it's that time again. It's the Real Deal Landman Show. Drew Hopkins, Jerris Johnson here, special guest Jason Lowrey. But I'm looking at my clock. I'm looking at my calendar. It looks like this is the last episode of the year. Exciting. I'm telling you, 2024 is in the books. It was a good year. It was a bad year. We argued and yelled at people online whenever we shouldn't have. I mean, we've all kind of got that shared experience, right? But overall, really exciting year. Exciting for the oil and gas industry. We saw a lot of acquisitions, a lot of mergers. We saw, oil and gas prices in pretty good ranges. It's been a really good year, and probably for everybody that's listening today, what more exciting news in 2024 than the start of the Real Deal Landman Show? I know that was the most exciting thing for me. I mean, Jerris, Jason, I mean, is that, am I lying?
It's easily in my top 10.
Hey, all we're trying to do is make it in the top 10. That's right.
Yeah. Easily top 10 of things that happened in November.
That's right. Yeah. So was it just November when we started this?
Yeah, it was.
It
hasn't even been 2 months yet. It's barely been a month.
Crazy to think. 10,000 followers in 2 months. Just
well done, and counting.
I'm telling, and counting. That's right. No, the accolades, Jason, definitely deserved. So we definitely will take that, and any other monetary awards that anybody wants to give us, if they just email the Real Deal Landman, or we can drop a PayPal or something out there. I don't know.
I got my wallet here, Drew.
That is the main reason, Jason, why we have reconnected, obviously, is because we think you are going to be our financial backer for 25, 26 and beyond. So we're really excited, and we're thankful today to have Jason Lowrey on. Jason is a longtime acquaintance of mine, of someone that I go way back with. I mean, 15, 20 years ago at Chesapeake.
Indeed.
And we have kept in touch with the occasional email. We've had the misconnection in Denver a couple times. But we've always definitely been watching each other's career, and it's been so fun to see Jason's career grow and prosper. And we were really excited whenever we were able to get him on the show today. So Jason, thank you for coming on, for sure.
My pleasure. I couldn't resist. I saw you started out, hitting a home run with the co-show episode, right? So
you got to start strong.
And I was like, man, I got to jump in there and also add some more stories too. It's going to be a blast.
Hey, that's exactly right. We were fortunate to have Larry on. Really fortunate as an industry and as a trade to have so many people that are, in this landman field that have such wonderful stories and have just the backgrounds that everyone that we've been able to connect with through the show has had. And so just the briefest of brief that I can tell you about Jason's career. Jason and I met each other 20-ish years ago at Chesapeake. He was starting in the mailroom and I was starting in the file room at Chesapeake, and our paths kind of converged in meeting in the land analyst role. And that's kind of how we knew each other. But I mean, after that, Jason, correct me where I'm wrong. I mean, you moved up after how many years of Chesapeake? Was it 8 years?
Oh, total. I got there in 2002.
Okay.
I made it till 2013.
Made it till 2013, and then the mountains were calling you, right?
Yes. After the first round, I'll call it, end of 2013. You know what? I kind of had enough of living in Oklahoma for 36 years and wanted to have a new adventure. And the hardest part was selling my wife on moving, because I had opportunities. This was really funny, actually. I said, babe, we can go to Midland, we can go to Houston, or we can go to Denver. And so she pointed in the right direction, and we came out west. So
I don't know how you couldn't sell her on Midland, honestly.
I was kind of, I know where she wanted to go.
Did
But,
it has so my wife has never been to Midland. Has your wife ever been to Midland?
she has not.
She had,
Um,
maybe the
we have
three of
driven
us need
through
to
it.
do
We
like a
did not
couples retreat. You think?
in a yurt.
And for anybody that's tuned in from Midland, just know it's coming from a place of love that we're saying that. So
It is.
I mean,
It is.
obviously,
Yeah, for sure.
but
It
so
was
Jason, you went up there. Was it to go take a job with Extraction? Is that right?
It was. Yeah, there was an opportunity at Extraction for a senior landman, and had to jump on it. It was a growing company. They had a big leasehold acquisition from Noble, and was helping put that together to get horizontal development in an urban play in Broomfield, Boulder, and other places, which was very challenging, but it gave me a lot of good experience. So glad I did it.
And the wife and you guys both were excited once you got up to Denver. Did it kind of become pretty, pretty natural? Like obviously you're still there, so you enjoyed it, right?
I should have done it a lot sooner.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
We love being here. The weather's great. You get some knuckleheads here and there, a little more than Oklahoma City, but weather's great, people are great, and the kids are growing up way too fast. So we love
That's
being
fantastic. Here. How old are you kids?
My son's 14. Hey, Dylan. And my daughter's 11. Hi, Harper. 11 going on 22, probably. She's got a lot of spirit.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations. That's a wonderful family. And I mean, to be able to, so many people kind of do that same thing and we've seen a lot of that with Chesapeake and a lot of, the other companies that the good people from those companies, look for opportunity. When you're always looking for the right opportunity, I mean, it's going to present itself to you, right? And so,
right,
you went through a round of those layoffs, and you started looking, and you started seeing the different options at play, and look how it's turned out. That's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, and I feel old because all the companies, I've only worked for a few, but all the old operators I used to work for are no longer in existence. So. It makes me feel like an old sage now. Oh yeah, back in the day, I worked at so and so, and that place is no longer there. So.
I mean, so that would be Extraction. What else? Noble and Great Western, or
Western? Yeah.
Okay.
And Chesapeake. Yeah.
And Chesapeake. That's right.
Yeah.
That is that does kind of put a little gray in our beards, doesn't it? Of all of the companies.
I think we've earned every one of them. Yeah.
I totally believe that. I completely believe that. So. Like what would you pass along? I mean, what would you say to somebody that was just starting out in the oil and gas industry of like you came into it? And one of the nice things about Chesapeake and knowing you is I also know your mom worked at Chesapeake, and she was
Correct.
A big influence of mine. She was over the owner relations department there at Chesapeake for years, and that was something that I was able to kind of roll into and help my career go forward, of help building that department out. And it was with a lot of advice that she had given me along the way too, which I am incredibly thankful for. But kind of take us through a little bit of that of growing up with it, of your mom working in the oil and gas field, and how you kind of decided that was something that you wanted to do as well.
Yeah. I mean, my mom worked in the industry ever since I can remember, several companies. And then I remember when she got on at Chesapeake when I was in high school. And it was funny because I had forgotten to print off my term paper or something when I was 15 or 16, my junior year. And so we went to the office so we could use the printer. And Chesapeake really took care of Mom, and so has the industry. And she was able to retire the right way. And
it's awesome.
And then I didn't really want to do it because you work in Oklahoma City, you probably need to consider, working in oil and gas. It's a great industry. It pays well. But I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that, And my mom was like, you know what, you probably should, or at least take a peek at it. Because I had a political science degree and I didn't really know what to do with it. I was thinking about going to law school, but I was like, nah, I'm tired of school. Let's go see what I can find. And like we were talking earlier offline, the good thing about starting out at Chesapeake is, we all had degrees and education, but you could also move up. It was a good place to start. And once everyone kind of saw your strengths on what you could do and say, hey, do you want to go to land department? Do you like engineering? Do you like geology? We can kind of move you around and move up, and you're not stuck in one spot as you start out. Because I was making X amount in the mailroom. I thought I was happier than anything. I was like, oh yeah, I got benefits. What? I get a bonus? Yeah, absolutely. Let's do this. It was, a lot less, but it was a fun time. And we had a great crew. I mean, everyone there was awesome. So it was a great place to start. And I owe my mom that. And also, shout out to Wade. Appreciate you, Wade.
Heck yeah. Wade was a huge influence on so many people going through the land department, which is awesome. We got to get him on the show at some point. Yeah. And I mean, and it goes back to your mom too, she had so many people that went through kind of the ranks there. And what you said early on was they looked for people that had, strong potential. And I know that's shared between all sorts of industries, but it was so nice for the oil and gas of people that didn't have oil and gas backgrounds, which just like you, I didn't go to school for it, but I knew I want to be a part of this. I want to grow with this. And, the managers and the directors and the VPs really looked for people that showed that initiative and just helped their careers, go. And that was what was so rewarding, I think, to me. But yeah, I owe your mom a lot of credit for that. So that's pretty awesome.
And also, I think in the old days, and this is how I try to do it now, is from 80% of the managers and the big players there, how I kind of learned my management style is open door policy. I mean, we doesn't matter if you're Aubrey McClendon. He knew everyone's name, everyone's high school mascot. Hey, how you doing? Hey, you want to go to the basketball game? I got free tickets. If he runs to you in the hallway, whatever. It wasn't as siloed as some other companies were, and that was kind of refreshing to see that. And I've kind of built my management style around open door policy. And hey, we're on the same team together, basically. And let's achieve this goal. Yeah,
that's really good. So, tell us a little bit about Laramie and what you guys are doing right now. Like, how big is the team, and what have you been able to kind of bring to the table from the land manager's perspective?
Yeah, as a company, we've got about 80 employees. We've got roughly 25 here in Denver, and the remainder is in the Grand Junction office. We're a peon space and operator. Got a lot of leasehold. So we're about focus on the Colburn Valley, which is about an hour east of Grand Junction. We're there with Jerris, which is now, can't remember, UB, I believe, is who bought them, and Chevron. So we're in the same sandbox together. We drill. We got rig running, and just trying to develop the asset. And my land team is myself. My land admin team of 6, and a GIS analyst, and we also have a great regulatory team. So we need to have a great regulatory team here in Colorado for sure. So shout out to them.
So you started off in the records room or file room there at Chesapeake. What was the experience that allowed you to move to the land department? Like, how did you make that jump? I know there's a lot of people that they get a foot into the door into this business, and they're looking for their way to be able to transition. And so for you, what do you think was your ability to be able to transition into that?
I think what was nice is, you were seeing a lot. So you had different routes of where you deliver the interoffice mail to, or the packages or whatever. So you got to know everybody very well, and they got to see you, and land was my better fit, because I love doing research. I love doing communicating and solving problems, and the team there was really good. So I think the good thing about being a courier in the mailroom then was you're seen. People know you, and they see you every day. And hey, this young kid, he looks like he can do something. Here's some tile opinions. Here's some leases. You want to come and be a land analyst, a land tech? Yes, sir. I'd love to. Why not? Yeah, just give it a shot. And fell in love with it. And man, we were blowing and going. And that's how I got over there. So just exposure, really good exposure.
And so looking at your job now, how has your job evolved from your first land or landman type role? And so what does your typical day look like now?
Well, I'm not in the trenches anymore doing the work. Now I manage, but I still do some of the old school work, the lease negotiating, the drafting, the tile opinion reviews. But managing my team is a little different than actually doing the nuts and bolts that I was doing initially, and reporting to my senior landman. Then the senior landman reports to the land manager. But no, any time I can get out and in the field or do the old school work, I really love it. So that's the difference right now. Yeah.
So do you have any great stories for us of being out in the field?
Yeah. Well, on your next show, Landman After Dark, I can share some others. But the ones the entertaining ones, thinking about the show as well, is I have been shot at before.
Oh my God.
When I was after Chesapeake, I moonlighted at a land service company, and our client needed some. I was in charge of the leasing team in Okima, so an hour east of Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
So there was one landowner, he'll go nameless, but I remember his name always, that he would only lease to me. He'd only talk to me. I sent out a couple of my leasing agents, and he didn't want anything to do with them. But the trick was, you had to get out there before 12:30, because him and Jim Beam were really good friends after 1 o'clock. And so I call him, I'll call him Mr. Johnson. So I call him Mr. Johnson and say, hey, I'll be at your house right at noon. And let's talk about getting this lease signed and what our plan is. So when you go out in the field, my suggestion is, and this is how I was taught, always bring a map, an aerial map, and bring 2 copies of the lease, and block out your day, give them the time to for them to talk to you and express their concerns. So I got there right at noon. The gate was open, as we discussed. I'm driving in, and then boom, buckshot right across my windshield. And Mr. Johnson, I'll call him Mr. Johnson, he was 90 feet away from me. He goes, curse word. And I was like, okay, this, I ride or die right here. Let's see what happens here. And I'm waving out of my truck.
Cow.
Hey, it's me, Jason. Well, bad word. Why don't you tell me you're coming? And he had this in his hand, right? And I'm like, I did. I just called you an hour ago. And he goes, well, come on in. Come in. Let's talk about this. I was like,
no mention of the buckshot across the hood.
And
no apology.
I was being sarcastic. I was like, well, I think the lease bonus just went down because you shattered my windshield.
Gosh, holy cow,
Sorry about
Jason.
your bad luck.
Good night. That may be a real deal landman first. I mean, that may be the first actual shot fired that we've had on the show.
That is a very true story. And I have another one.
Okay.
And this was in the Barnett days. The senior landman that I worked with, he was known to be kind of gruff at times. And so this mineral owner that we had to get leased before the pre-spud meeting, like a week before, would only really talk to me too. I don't know why people like me, but they do.
You're very approachable.
Yeah. And so I drove down to Burleson, Texas. And same thing, got my map, got my lease, ready to go. And he always carried his Colt 45 on his waist. Answers the door. So I'll use this as a prop. And, hey, how you doing? Hey, Tom, good to see you. Oh, well, come on in the dining room. Okay. So I sit down with the map and open the lease, and he takes out his gun, he puts it on the lease. He goes, you know what? I don't like that pew clause. I said, well, we can mark out that pew clause. And he's just tapping his gun like that. And he goes, also, I want to put favored nations in there too. And I was like, I don't know if I can do that, but I can take out that pew clause. And that's a hell of a gun you got there. Why don't you tell me about the gun? I was trying to deflect him a little bit.
Right.
And so he goes, okay, no favored nations. I'll put that over there. And then, that's kind of the styles. Like once these landowners get your trust, then you're their best friend. And so it goes, oh, my mom's got land out in this back 40, and you guys are all around. Well, can we go take a look at it? And maybe you guys can put a location out there. And I said, all right, Tom, yeah, no problem. I'll go take a look at it, whatever. Just holster that sidearm if you don't mind. But I got the lease done. So those are my 2 gun stories.
Good night,
so that really does
Jason.
happen, guys. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's absolute. I mean, you're falling right in line with where we're talking about the Landman show with Billy Bob Thornton. The very first negotiation he has is he has a burlap sack over his head, and the cartel is negotiating.
Well, the cartel
with him.
is a sexier story. That's a sexy story there.
That is a sexy story. I mean, I don't know if you ever had a burlap sack over your head, but I mean, it sounds like you weren't too far away from it.
Not by choice. No.
That's right. That's hilarious. Well, yeah,
never told my wife that story, so we'll keep that between us 3.
That's amazing. Only thing,
lucky you, we don't really have 10,000 subscribers.
We're a tad shy right now. We're working on it. That's going to be probably by next show. I remember. Jason, I don't know if you remember, but you and I went on a trip together with a couple other analysts. It was the very first time I had ever been to Houston. And I remember we went down, and it was like a 2-day training or something. And we went down and we did 1 day of the training. And then the next day we were leaving or something in the evening or afternoon. And we went out to a nice dinner that night. And I remember it was nothing out of the norm. Had a couple drinks at dinner and had a nice steak, and everything. And that night I got food poisoning so bad. And the next day I was barely able to get off the floor. And I remember this was like the first business trip that I'd ever been on before. And I was so incredibly terrified that it was going to get back to Chesapeake, that Drew Hopkins was like some lush that missed out on training. And I remember just like being like a zombie going down to like that conference room and like holding on to the table for dear life, just sweating everything out of my system. It was absolutely terrifying. And, I think that is something that, again, all land personnel should go through, is one terrifying bout of food poisoning right off the bat to really establish their career,
No, we covered for you. Not a problem, bro.
I do appreciate that. I think I owe you most of the positives to my career just because you covered for that one meeting. So that's good.
You missed karaoke night. That was the most entertaining.
I did. That's right. That's exactly right. Well, I really do appreciate you coming on today. And do you have any advice for maybe a younger audience as we go down like right off the front of 2025, as we've got a lot of conferences and everything coming up? We've got NAPE. Do you head down to NAPE each year?
Dude, I go every other year. Yeah, I
Okay.
can't make it this year, but I was there last year for sure.
That's fantastic. Well, do you have any? Most of the time, I always see some of the graduates coming out of Wyoming, and a lot of people coming from TCU. Like I'll talk to those guys whenever they're down there, and they're so excited because they're just getting their career started.
That's right.
Any words of advice for people that are just getting into the industry and just kind of cutting their teeth with it?
Yeah, it's cliche, but network. Get involved at NAPE. Get involved in your local associations. Not everyone, not every outing, not every luncheon, but get to know everyone at at these land institutes or these OCAPL golf tournaments, or go to the clay shoot. You may not shoot, you may not play golf, go. Network all the time, get to know even other people that work in other bases, just the industry as a whole. And that'll keep, the industry strong, and also help your networking skills, especially if you need it someday. You never know, because that was something my senior landman used to tell me. The guy I kind of looked up to a little bit was, hey, we're all going to work with each other or for each other in this industry. So, stop there. But then he'd say, if you want to burn a bridge, you blow it completely. Okay. But no, just kidding. But network and always keep a good ethical reputation. And it's a great place to be. I love our industry as a whole, to be honest with you. So
it's fantastic. It's a great fraternity to be a part of, for sure. I mean, it's just like you said, just building that network up, finding people that you can. I know yours is the same way. My phone is filled with landmen that I've only met a couple times at different conferences, but I still can shoot a text message to them if I'm in the area, and always glean something good from the conversation, which is fantastic. So that's been a huge benefit to the career.
100%. You have to go out there and network. You may like to do it every day, but it helps. It helps when you need it.
It's awesome. Jerris, you got anything else before we get to the great review of episode 8?
I think we just got to dive right into it. So, Jason, have you been watching? Are you up to speed, or are we about to drop some major spoilers on you?
I don't mind spoiler alerts, so I'd love to hear about episode 8.
There's going to be all kinds of spoilers to this. Okay, so the actual title of the episode was called "Clumsy This Life." I don't know that I fully grabbed what that is meant to mean, but Drew, looks like you have named it "Cooper is going to be a CEO."
Cooper is going to be a CEO, and I mean, let me tell you why. I could break this down. I don't need a full, screen behind me kind of showing all of the different accolades that Cooper has done in his illustrious 3-week-long career. But I can tell you, this he's motivated enough to steal a wonderful wife from another one of his compatriots, and now he is moving on to greener pastures. So I mean, right off the bat of this thing, we left it last week of Cooper is at Ariana's house, and the lawyers are there, right? And Rebecca she's blowing him up, and she's like, listen, Cooper, like, the truth because you were there, and nobody else survived that explosion. She's like, if you don't tell me the truth, I'm going to make up my own. And that's a perfect representation of, I mean, we're doing fake news. That's alternative facts.
Alternative facts.
She's putting them out there for you, right? We look at that and we're like, this episode actually was very Cooper and Ariana centric. And I don't know if that's the greatest thing, that the show could be doing right now, but it was fine. We did more of kind of that little love story that was going through, but we shoot over to Fort Worth, and Monty is talking to the governor, he's surrounded by policemen while he's eating at the country club, that's a great look. And if I ever got to be governor, I would absolutely require that police officers stood around me the entire time I ate. I mean, morning, noon, or night, any meal, I'm doing that with them. But he asked the governor if the National Guard can start doing training drills on all of their leased land. And I mean, Jason, I would throw that to you of, if you've leased a lot of land, if you wanted to, and I mean, we're talking, you've leased the minerals, you might have got some of the surface, I don't know, but could you have the National Guard come and run drills on that land without maybe one of those landowners that already has a gun? Maybe he hasn't been drinking yet, or maybe wants to join. I don't know.
I think they have more guns than I do. So I would say, I guess, you have one
if you got to, I guess the governor just goes ahead and gives them the approval.
Seems a little aggressive.
He's going to work with right. It's just one of those things. It's that cartel. They're nervous about the cartel. Monty knows that it's going to slow the production on these workovers if they can't get this under control. For whatever reason, the governor knows of Tommy, Billy Bob's character. And he says, yeah, whatever you need, we'll get some people out there. He's already kind of feeling around. You can tell Monty doesn't feel too good about this whole thing. And he gets he kind of sets a bad tone early on here. We pitch back to Ariana and Rebecca and Nathan, the other attorney, and they're trying to negotiate. It was $250,000, I think, was what they were trying to go for. Was that right, Jerris?
Yeah, for 3 families.
That's right. And so Ariana's kind of getting ready to sign, but then of course she looks up at Cooper, who doesn't have any vested interest in this, but he's her new legal confidant, and Cooper says they each want $1 million. And this just absolutely floors Rebecca. You kind of see that Nathan, the attorney, is kind of like, ooh, great negotiating skills, just throwing out the $1 million. But Rebecca kind of backs off and she kind of folds. She calls Monty up. Monty's not happy about it. And they're like, we're going to fire that guy immediately. And Cooper's like, I quit. And that's where I was like, this kid has had such an illustrious career out of 3 weeks. I mean, he's accomplished everything he needed to. Like, you're going out on a high, buddy. This is great. So he was maybe in the field. I think Jerris and I were counting 2 days. I think he actually got 2 full days of work, meaning he probably picked up maybe 1 real paycheck from Imtex, maybe
100%.
I mean,
probably so.
He gets that 1 check. The taxes are taken out of it. He's got, maybe the first insurance, has been cut out. He hasn't even got a company email yet. And he's like, I'm out of here. This is done. So he says $1 million, not just for Ariana, but for all of the other people. Monty's really ticked off about this as he hangs up the phone. And he says, I think the quote that I had down is, he said, I learned all that they could teach me. Now I'm going to run an oil and gas company one day. And just, it was just almost too much for me at that point. I had to kind of just hit pause and take a break and walk around the kitchen for a minute. He will go on to do great things. I can already tell. I'm very excited to see that spinoff show. Ariana said something about, she said they're up a creek without a pickle. And then she corrects herself and she's like, the paddle, and they kind of go back and forth and do some dialogue on that. And it is assured that she is having some sort of a stroke and needs to take some of that money and invest it in on medical care. I don't know if it's Cobra or what, but she needs to get that, taken care of. Back at the house, Dale is listening to Angela and Tommy treat that rental like a frat house. Really kind of right in Angela's wheelhouse. Exactly. She's just the delightful person that we've come to know and love. And then she goes from just absolutely being happy to the other bipolar side in a absolute second. I feel sorry for Dale, the guy that lives there. I love Dale. I think Dale's fantastic. And so Ainsley is outside, and she says to Tommy that she's going to be going to a Bible study with her new hot boyfriend. She is, of course, lying, as we have, come to know, and Tommy has asked her to do when anything goes on with this boyfriend. We kick over again, and we see Monty's heart is now attacking him in a limo, and so he's rushed to the hospital. So we've got a lot going on in the first half of that show. Jerris, anything to add there?
It's kind of astonishing that Monty can get off his private jet, get into his limo, and the idea that he has to pay 3 grieving families $1 million instead of $250,000 is what gives him his 5th heart attack and puts him in the hospital.
That's exactly right.
and the message that's being portrayed here, of course, is that this is how all oil men are.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah, and didn't he say, I think it was last episode or the episode before, where he was like, I don't care what it takes. They can continue to raise this up. We're just not going to litigation. I mean, I know
they were definitely trying to avoid the whole litigation.
They were trying to avoid the whole thing. And they said that this was going to be like a $20+ million lawsuit minimum if it went actually. And so I feel like he got off pretty good here. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he did.
Yeah.
And Demi Moore got to say 3 lines. That's pretty awesome. I mean, she collected her paycheck for this episode. So Monty's having a heart attack. Demi Moore's there. The National Guard meets Tommy out on some of the leased acreage. And they said, yeah, we could set up a firing range over here. And would you be okay with if we had attack helicopters going around? And Tommy was like, I don't care what's going on. Like, just, as long as you guys have a presence here that keeps the cartel out. And so they're pretty good with that. We were absolutely treated to Angela going back to her day job, which is getting old people drunk at the retirement center. And so she goes to the retirement home. She sees that they have a van that hasn't worked. Again, this wonderful employee of Shady Acres or whatever this place is called has been like, yeah, we bought him a van. We don't take him anywhere. Here are the keys to it. Put a margarita machine in the back, which evidently they do. They're running red lights with this. They go to a bowling alley. There is an old lady that says one of the most filthy things you're going to hear on this show that Jerris will repeat later. We'll bleep everything out, but Jerris was like, I'm adamant about making sure that we capture everything that this person said.
I'm having the t-shirts printed as we speak.
That's exactly right. No, we have to. And so Angela is she's in her happy place of getting people drunk and, having bad decisions. So it's only a matter of time before somebody from the old folks home passes away. And, I don't know. Does she grieve? I doubt it. So there's a lot going on. I kept hoping each one of these different episodes we would see a new, like we talk about the layers of the onion, if we're peeling back like a character, we're going to see like a new side of this thing. And Angela she's a one peel onion. That's it. There's only one layer and that's all we got. And I don't know. I wouldn't miss it if, let's say, Cooper took her out on a rig with his safety record. And he was like, Mom, I'm going to take you on a tour of the rig. Because every time he goes to a rig, somebody loses some appendage. So if it happened, it happened. I don't know. Like, I'm just throwing it out there. It'd be good TV. Tommy and Rebecca are going to meet at the Patch Bar and Grill. Tommy still hasn't really addressed, Monty knows that Cooper had kind of thrown the company under the bus, but nobody really talked to Tommy about it that much. I kept worrying, how long has Rebecca been in Midland? She's been in Midland the entire show length now, which is like a 3-week period.
Right.
So I don't know why they haven't just got an Airbnb for her. The shots of the hotel are like no hotel in Midland, I can tell you. I mean, it is not the DoubleTree. It is way nicer than the DoubleTree. I mean, that's the only thing. That's me picking this way too deep. Tommy says he's going to show up, but at the Patch to meet Rebecca, but he's got to show up over at Ariana's first just to talk to Cooper real quick. It was pretty lazy. We were sitting on the couch watching it, and I looked over at my wife, and I'm like, if Tommy has anything to eat, the first thing he's going to do is he's going to take a bite. He's going to cough because it's too spicy, because they've done that joke like 20 times in this show already. And I was like, he's going to cough, say it's too spicy. And like I said, Cooper is going to say it takes a while to get used to, and verbatim that happened. And I was like, all right, I could write a little bit of this.
Boom.
I think.
Yeah.
It was pretty easy to see where that was going, but all Tommy came over was, he was like, I'm coming over just to make sure you guys are okay, and that, people are starting to notice what our reviewers online are noticing, and that is, your husband just died. You're now in a relationship with my son, and it's only been 2.5 weeks. And she said something like, if I was looking for someone to take care of me, a worm from a workover crew wouldn't be the solution. And I was like, well, your husband just worked on the workover crew, and like, he was your sole provider. So I don't know but she also has the confidence of a newly established millionaire, which she just got a check that morning for $1 million. So, I mean, there is a bit of confidence there that I think. And how far do you guys think that $1 million would go in Midland? Like, how long can they coast? It's a fairly expensive place.
It's not cheap.
I mean, it would have to depend on the house that they're living in, and how much of that money has to go to paying off the house.
Yeah.
And also, like the million, does she get the million straight up, or are there taxes that are going to be taken out?
That is true. I don't know how that works. Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. So I think it was last week's episode or the week before, like she was talking about all of the payments that they had to make. And so Cooper told her that she needed to sell, I think, her husband's truck because it was paid off. And so maybe they just have a car, or they have a house payment. They don't have a car payment. But that came into play too. Of the lawyer, Rebecca did say, are you helping this girl make financial decisions? Because if you are, that could be a little bit of a, I don't know, like a unsteady ground of how he could be implicated somehow with this. So I digress. We go back to the dinner, and after she says that whole worm line, she's like, okay, you've had one bite of food, dinner's over for you. And she walks him to the door. So he didn't exactly get a dinner there, but Tommy still likes her for whatever reason. And he's just like, you guys just need to be careful. The thing that I really was very interested in of Ainsley and her new boyfriend, Ryder, went swimming in what looked every bit like a frack pond. I mean, it was right next to the pad. They were talking the flares. It was right there. And I just cannot think in good conscience, I cannot tell them that that's a good idea to do. I mean, would you guys, if you saw somebody swimming in a frack pond, would we say anything, or would we just, whistle and go the other direction?
I got to think that any kid growing up in Midland knows that you don't go swimming in frack ponds.
It just doesn't seem, and he was like it's lit up at night because of the flares, and it's like swimming in fire. And I was like, you're going to be burning from all, like there's going to be some stuff that you are going to definitely not feel great tomorrow, probably, but you don't swim in it. I don't know. But they could be locals out there, could be very, maybe it's just what you're into there. Maybe that's a great swimming pool. I don't know. I haven't done it.
Well, the locals there have told me many times, never drink the tap water unless you know for certain there's a reverse osmosis system.
I have heard that too. And yeah, it's between, I will say, Midland and Las Vegas have some of the most interesting tap water. Of like, it's a really distinct taste. And, I think I could pick it out. Kind of like bourbon or whiskey tasting. I've done enough of that to where I feel like I can pick out, like, I'm like, oh yeah, it's an Eagle Rare. That's a Blanton's. But I could also, if you put 3 glasses of water in front of me and you were like, which one's Midland? I almost guarantee I could pick it out. So they're swimming in the frack pond, and this was the part of the show where they started doing all the quotes that I anticipated being seen online today. And it was about, she's like, well, isn't that, what's that burning? And so the Ryder, the captain of the football team, he breaks down everything, the natural gas, like, that's being burned off at the pad site. But then he's like, it's not half as bad as what the Chinese lithium mines are, or solar panels, or these wind turbines that are killing all the birds. He was like, actually, if you think about it, humans are the very worst polluters. And he's like, if you think that this is the end of what we're going to do to like hurt ourselves, I mean, we've got another pandemic. So he's turning basically into Nostradamus, and I absolutely love it because he's figuring out exactly. First off, he's educating her, and Ainsley, fantastic. Like she's picked a guy with not only just beauty but brains. Like, this guy has got it all. But then he's also really talking about, like starting the other pandemic, and I just thought, this guy's, he's a keeper, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy, and he meets with Rebecca at the patch, and she starts kind of saying that, how would anybody at that pad site know how to turn off the gas at the well? It would probably take an engineer. And she's like, your son was actually an engineer beforehand, so he would be the only one. And so he's like, are you saying that my son killed all those guys? And she's like, he kind of knew to run away whenever he handed that wrench. And so in my favorite part of the entire episode, Tommy just gets up, and this is Billy Bob Thornton, all like 120 pounds of him, and he just kicks the hell out of her chair. And that was the end of their altercation. He just kicks a chair out from under her, and then he just walks off. And so I loved it. I watched that part on repeat. It's fantastic. Ainsley told Ryder that she wanted to see kind of what his self-worth is, and what if he's more than just if what's under the surface there. If it's not just him being able to talk about Chinese lithium mines. And so he takes her at she takes him at like 10 o'clock at night to, again, the Shady Acres old folks home. And he is playing like Heads Up or something like that with the people there. And she and the other people that are watching this, she's just like, obviously this man is meant to be like, they will get married next episode at the earliest, or maybe latest. The final scene, and this is the one with all the marbles. So we really have had a Cooper and Ariana kind of centered episode. The cartel offers that really interesting kind of subplot, and I feel like it's getting taken up a little bit. Last week we had the guy watching them with the night vision goggles. This week, now they are actually making a drug trade out in the middle of like one of the sites. But unfortunately for them, it is the same site that the Black Hawk helicopters are circling over. And earlier they kind of alluded to this, and they were like, yeah, we're going to drag some vehicles out in the field and we're just going to blow them up for the fun of it. And wouldn't you know that while they were making this drug deal, the helicopters thought that these were a couple of the cars that were drug out in the field. And so they just start laying it on them, blow up the van, people all over the place. And the last thing that we hear is command, control saying, were there bogeys out there that shouldn't be? Did the bogeys get hit? Did anybody get hit? And that's how it ended. So now the cartel not only going to be mad at Tommy, but probably the National Guard. So this could be just Jerris, Jason. This just could spell catastrophe for everybody involved. That's what I'm worried about.
So I've got a few notes to add on to that. One is, our title character, the Landman, knew in the first episode that they did not own the surface, because he was negotiating a surface use agreement. He knew that they had lease to the minerals, but he knew that their surface access was limited. So even if Monty gave or asked for approval from the governor or whoever to have the National Guard out there doing bombing runs, I would have thought that Bobby would have put up or Billy Bob would have put up a little bit of a fight to say, hey, you guys can't be out here. You are literally torching our landowner relations here. Like, you can't, that is not something that you can do. So I was, I'm a little surprised that there's not something like that to it. And then, we've got 2 more episodes. So obviously I would expect that those last 2 episodes will be a to be continued type deal, 2-part. And so we're going to have the climax. I think somebody's going to die. The question is, who is going to die? And so they've got it teed up right now to where it's like, it could be Cooper because he's a walking disaster. It could be Ainsley because the cartel is watching her. It could be Billy Bob because the cartel is watching him. Could be Monty because of the heart attack deal. And we've got a very high-profile, high-paid actress that has had hardly any lines. I would not be surprised. I'm not predicting. I'm just saying I would not be surprised if they off Monty somehow, and his wife then takes control over the company. Yeah. Or if Monty's like incapacitated for a really long time due to his heart condition or whatever it is. And then I also think that, like, as bizarro as the Angela character is, it would not be out of the realm of possibility that somehow she gets caught in the crossfire and that other
it'd be devastating. Is what it'd be, Jerris.
I know.
Don't you put that out there in the universe? I don't ever want Angela to leave this show. I mean, she's fantastic. This is what could they win with this? Could she win an Emmy, or what do you think?
So, Jason, we've just dropped all the spoilers on you. Are you still going to watch and catch up and see it all for yourself?
telling Taylor Sheridan someone's going to get beat up or someone's going to get killed in the last couple episodes. So, yes, I will binge watch and catch up, but that was a great synopsis of episode 8, gentlemen.
Well, we completely appreciate you being on. It was a really pleasure to catch up again, Jason, and all the best to you and your family for sure. This has been, this has been a very fast year. They don't slow down at all, and I'm sure that you and your family are looking forward to a good 2025. But hope to see you next time I'm in Denver. And if you ever get to Oklahoma City, just please look me up, okay?
I'll give you a buzz. Thanks, guys.
I like it.
It's a pleasure.
Well, Jerris, definitely. From Jerris Johnson, Drew Hopkins, Happy New Year, everybody listening. We are so glad that you've tuned in, and we really appreciate it. And all the best to you in the 2025, and we will see you next week.
Absolutely. See ya.
Thanks, gentlemen.